Until the last war, when the Australian Army built a road through to the port of Lae, it was supplied entirely by means of air transport. And air transport is still a most important link connecting Bulolo with the outside world. Bulolo during the war, but today a beautiful and thriving township has risen from the ashes. Bulolo Gold Dredging Company, in a setting of trees and gardens, houses nearly 700 Europeans. The bungalows are designed for tropical conditions. They are supplied with electric light and power and provided with every modern domestic appliance. Lawns and gardens give this busy industrial township a tranquil air, and Bulolo's lovely park offers welcome shade in the heat of a tropical day. In this garden township live those who are winning the wealth of this lovely valley. For some of the finest trees in the world clothe these hills, and the sands of its rivers are rich in gold. Gold was discovered here at the junction of the Bulolo River and Karanga Creek, and fortunes were won by those who arrived early on the scene. But this was no fossickers' field. This was a job for machines and power, for a long arm of steel buckets to probe deep into the earth for its treasure. Eight of these great dredgers were flown in sections to Bulolo and assembled on the field without loss of a single part. At that period, this represented one of the world's greatest achievements in air transport. The bucket ladder on the big dredgers is 160 feet long and can dig gravel from a depth of 85 feet below the level of the pond. This line of buckets forms an endless conveyor which passes the gravel into a revolving perforated drum called a screen, and sifts the gold-bearing sands for further treatment and discharges waste boulders or tailings to a conveyor which dumps them at the rear of the dredge. The dredge itself floats in a pond of its own making, and the water level is maintained by water channeled to it from the river. The Bulolo dredgers have treated more than 200 million cubic yards of gravel to recover bullion worth 30 million pounds or 66 million American dollars. There's sure some gold in them thar hills. Gold is recovered from the sands by treatment with quicksilver. The resulting amalgam is called sponge gold. Sponge gold is treated in a retort, and finally the pure gold is melted down and cast into ingots. And one of these little gold bricks, smaller than a house brick, is worth just 4,000 pounds. But if there's wealth in Bulolo's rivers, there is also wealth in its Klinki-clad hills. The Gold Dredging Company has partnered the Australian government in forming Commonwealth New Guinea Timbers Limited. Chairman of Directors, Mr. John W. Otten tells.
The story of gold dredging in the Bulolo Valley is one of vision and vigour. It is the story of the conquest of great obstacles by the enterprising spirit of pioneers, miners, engineers and airmen who opened up the valley and made possible the winning of its gold. That spirit of enterprise, which led to the installation of 8 great gold dredgers in this remote valley, is still abroad. Here, our company, Commonwealth New Guinea Timbers, has pioneered the plywood industry in the territory of New Guinea. we shall harvest the 500 million feet of Klinki which stands along the watershed of the Bulolo and Wattet rivers and convert it to one of the world's finest commercial plywoods. We shall cut out the existing stand of timber in about 50 years, but as the trees are harvested, others will be planted by the foresters of the New Guinea administration, so that at the end of this 50 years period, there will have arisen a new and even better forest than that which now surrounds this valley. Here then in Bulolo, lumberjacks and dredgemen have joined forces, and the green gold of the hills will join the yellow gold of the river to make this region one of the most important industrial centres in this part of the world.
The new company gets to work in earnest. Bulldozers clear and level the site for the plywood plant. Stone crushers and mechanical shovels go into action, preparing foundations for the building and machinery. The site is located just outside the town limits, close to the key forest. 3 acres of concrete are laid in preparation for the construction of the factory. Meanwhile, the sawmill gets to work on the 1 million feet of timber required for the factory building. For Klinki not only makes fine plywood, it is also excellent for building and a first-class joinery timber. Some of the main posts are 22 inches wide, 16 inches thick, and 24 feet long. That's man-sized timber, but no problem for giant Klinki logs. The various members were prefabricated in the sawmill and joinery shop, and here the first frames of the building are being erected and fitted. Modern timber connectors are used throughout the building to securely fasten the various members and sections together. The main building is 240 feet wide and nearly 500 feet long. Spanned by 80-foot trusses, it is a splendid example of modern timber engineering, a fact which enabled it to be completed in record time. For within 3 months of fitting the first frame, this large building was completed and much of the machinery installed. Today, this plywood plant at Bulolo is the largest of its kind in the southern hemisphere and as modern as any in the world.
The agony of an ancient tree falling. These Klinki are living fossils, a relic of the past when New Guinea had a temperate climate. Strangely, this remnant of another age is one of the last large stands of virgin pine in the Pacific. Men like Kanoe from the Sepik came into the valley to work in the new industry. Europeans and New Guineans worked together in a valley where once nobody lived. These Klinki pines, some up to 400 years old, are among the tallest trees in the world, reaching to heights of 280 feet and more up through the rainforest canopy that strives to engulf them. They stand straight and proud, but are cantankerous to bring down, their high crowns catching the slightest breeze. Or could it be disgruntled spirits, defiant to the last? raw material for New Guinea's largest secondary industry, plywood production. There was an estimated 400 million super feet of natural Klinki in the Bulolo area. Commonwealth New Guinea Timbers Limited has the right to cut out 10 million super feet a year. The log haul to the mill from here is 6 miles on the 150 miles of road system that development has brought to the valley. Timber getting produces its own cacophony of sounds. Kanoe and his family live with it. And so do a brood of birds of paradise, which fly back during the breeding season, year after year, to the same display tree in a nearby wedge of rainforest. The males have the beauty, and they know it. You find them only in the shade. They seem to have a distaste for sunlight, as though they're afraid that it will fade their bright colors. These are the men and machines which have shown there's nothing really formidable about the jungle of Papua and New Guinea. They tame it as a day-to-day job. Scented sandalwood, ebony, rosewood, mahogany, walnut, and cedar. The trees that brought the first timbermen to the last wilderness. Klinki pine is the glamour tree today, and 40 tons of it make a load. Cuckoo-cuckoos. That's what they called them, until word came out of the mountains that the cuckoo-cuckoos themselves disapproved of the name. Nobody argued with the ferocious little warriors, who in the past had been feared all the way to the coast. If they wanted to be known as Watuts, that was fine. Their fathers came into the Bulolo Valley looking for blood. These fellows are hunting jobs. The bows and arrows are nothing more than a habit these days. Bulolo Township stirs early. It's a 7 a.m. start for all, even the typists. A hangover from the gold dredging days when 7 was a change of shift. Men who used to keep the dredges churning are the driving force in the new industry, a highly successful $5 million operation. Commonwealth New Guinea Timbers Limited was formed as a private company to develop the timber resources of the valley. It's a partnership operation, jointly owned by the Australian government and Placer Development Limited.
You're going to get another 4 million.
It's a big business, which has learned to be self-reliant in a remote valley of a remote country. Bulolo has a population of 2,500. To the Watut warriors, it's the center of civilization. They come to town, eyes wide, in their best bark capes and dog's teeth necklaces. Ninka, their fight leader back in the mountains, has been to Bulolo before. Watuts are one of numerous tribal groups from all over New Guinea, working together in the Bulolo Valley. 90% of the virgin stand of Klinki in the Bulolo Valley is suitable for use as plywood. The logs are perfect peelers, and the product is recognized as one of the world's best ply veneers. The mill turns out $3 million worth of ply each year, using the most sophisticated plant. The fathers of many of the operators use stone axes. The logs peel better when fresh. An average Klinki growing in the forest on Monday can be turned into 15,000 square feet of plywood and on its way ready for export by Friday of the same week. So the ply sandwich is glued together, ready for hot pressing at 220 degrees Fahrenheit. Curls of Klinki. They're used as reinforcement for the tens of thousands of doors manufactured in the mill each year. They're just a sideline to the 37 million square feet of plywood produced yearly in Bulolo. The Territory's Department of Forestry has the job of guaranteeing that the valley will always have Klinki forests. One cone contains thousands of seeds, each with a wing adapted to distribution by the wind. But Klinki seedlings now rarely survive under natural conditions since the climate change in New Guinea, swamped as they are by the tide of broadleaf rainforest. In fact, Bulolo's Klinki forests were actually dying out until the forestry scientists solved the problems of their survival. One wonders what Ninka's father would have had to say about his son tending baby Klinki in the Forbidden Valley. From the Klinki comes man, said the Watuts. The men on this assembly line come from tribes who for centuries have cleared the forests to make their village gardens. It has been their custom to destroy trees, not to nurture them. A hothouse environment is part of the conditioning of the young Klinki for life in the plantation forest, where they will mature in 40 years, as against up to 100 years of struggle to survive in a tropical rainforest. 1 million Klinki seedlings are planted out each year. Already, 13-year-old plantation Klinki is being thinned out to allow for growing space in the new forests, prompting plans for wood chip and wood pulp industries. The rate of growth in the plantations has been faster than expected. Since the program began in the Bulolo area, 15,000 acres of pine have been planted out, ensuring a constant flow of material to the Bulolo mill after the natural forest has been cut out. And on the valley flats, cattle from the Markham are being fattened, another facet of the wealth of a valley that not long ago was called officially Waste and Only.